Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again on our Tuesday webinar series. Today, we are blessed to be joined by Dennis Michael of Wait Creative and Monika Adams of Monika Social. Today is going to be part 3 of 3 for their Build Your Personal Brand webinar series. So guys, the floor is yours. And let me just make it first so you have the ability to share your screen. And now, go ahead.
All right. All right. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you still a real estate agent? And if you are, what have you accomplished in those 5 years that have made you so happy? So now as you think about your future self, let's come back to today. What is your personal brand? Is your personal brand hindering or helping you achieve your goals? So Monika and I introduce you to our 3-part series on building a better real estate brand. And today is part 3, putting it all together. Now that you have a presence and you have created the right messaging, where do you go to market yourself? But before we begin, let us introduce ourselves. Monika?
Hi, everybody. So if you've been watching this, I guess I'll do something different today. So I'm Monika Adams, the owner of Monika Social. I have niche mostly into the real estate industry, but other than being a social media marketing strategist, I also have a podcast called Get Discovered Podcast with Monika Social. On whatever you listen to podcasts, you can hear me talking to guests and about marketing strategies and social media strategies. So that is me.
And I'm Dennis Michael, owner of Wait Creative, and I have been helping personal brands, real estate agents in particular, since 2010, build personal brands. So I've worked with people like Alex Ward, Terry Predich, Sonia Terabay, Nicola Lease, and currently one of Maxwell Devonshire Realty's new agents, Mike Bratlin. So in part 2 of this series, we discussed your messaging. So we shared with you, the types of messages, discuss how to figure out who you are, what's your target, what's bothering your target audience, and how you can help them, and what is the result that you can create, and then putting all of this data that you're collecting into really amazing messages. And today, part 3, we are going to discuss the marketing. So now that you have a presence and messaging, where are you going to market yourself? So we are going to start off by sharing how it all comes together, discuss again, just recap your target audience, give you a definition of what marketing is and what it isn't, and share with you how long it takes to market yourself. And then Monika is going to then not only we're going to forego the typical places that you would normally assume where you can market yourself, and we're going to point out some really unique opportunities that you as a real estate agent can capitalize on that are probably being underserved in your communities where your services provide. So once again, do you remember this statistic? So you are one of over 3,600 real estate professionals in the Edmonton region. So how are you standing out from everyone? And how are you making your audience see you and remember you the next time they need to buy or sell their home, when there are over 3,600 options available to them? Again, imagine yourself, it's 2 years from today, and the market has cooled off because interest rates have increased, housing prices have stabilized, and the market has calmed down. So the spoils of last year and this year are long gone. Now the 3,600 professionals in the region has increased to over 4,500. How is your business doing? How have you maintained your personal brand? And what marketing have you been doing the last 2 years to stay top of mind to your target audience? So with as much competition as there is today, it is only going to get worse. The key to remaining busy with clients is to brand and market yourself better than your competitors. And then to brand and market yourself better, you must toss aside the conventional tactics that have been used in the past. you have to think differently. You have to think about what makes your personal brand unique. Then create messages and a presence that complement your uniqueness and put it all together to market yourself with focus, clarity, and precision. So again, like the other two parts, have questions, write them down. If you have lots, we have lots to share. So take notes and retain what you're learning. And during this session, ideas and thoughts may come up. Write them down as personal notes to yourself and learn from them. So as we present, you may begin strategizing your next moves and maybe calculating how you can create your own personal brand. Use this session of this last session and the previous two to build your brand and keep yourself top of mind every year of your career. Now let's begin. So the order of completion that we've shared with you in the past two sessions is built like this for a reason. Marketing professionals follow this process because we all know that you cannot market yourself until you know who you are, what you do, and who you want to attract. Again, you cannot market yourself until you know who you are, what you do, and who you want to attract. Only then can you market yourself with the fourth W, where should you grab their attention? So in part two, we helped you define your target audience. Now that we understand who your target audience is, now we get into the minds of this audience. And we also explain how important it is that you pick a specific type of person because your audience is not everyone. So you need to ask yourself, is your audience single moms? Is it new immigrants? Is it families with one child or many? Is it veterans, doctors, single professionals? You want to zero in on one audience because creating broad messages to the masses makes your messages less meaningful. And it also lumps you into the same group as everyone else. And remember, you have over 3,600 competitors. So these three questions, when answered in great detail, will guide you towards the proper places to market your personal real estate brand. Answering these three questions will help you create meaningful messages that stand out from the typical messages you see from our other agents. So if you didn't catch what the was, you can go back to part two. So what is marketing? So essentially it is advertising, and you are actively promoting and selling your services through various means. Now, I really like this definition. Les Binet is from Adam and Eve DDB, and he's a legend in marketing, and he created this definition of advertising. How advertising really works. So advertising increases, maintains sales and margins by slightly increasing the chance that people will choose your brand by making the brand easy to think of and easy to buy, and creating positive feelings and associations via broad reach ads that people find interesting, enjoyable, and targeted activation that they find relevant and useful. Marketing gurus may argue that what I'm saying, but if you remember what Les Binet said, you must make your brand easy to think of and easy to buy from, and create positive feelings and associations through broad reach ads that people find interesting, enjoyable, and targeted activation that they find relevant and useful. So marketing to your specific target audience requires time, patience, and determination. Right now, they are not ready to buy from you, but sometime in the future, they will be. And when that time comes, who will they remember? Will they remember the agent that just placed one door knocker at their home, never to be seen again? Or the agent that has been continually marketing to them for the past 3 to 12 months? So marketing can get out of hand if not done without a strategy. So in the previous two webinars, we shared the strategy that we use to help our clients achieve results. Strategy will save you time and money, and it will also help you achieve as much success as you want. So now that you have an understanding of how everything we taught comes together, now you have a better understanding of the definition of marketing and what it takes to see results. Now, Monika is going to walk you through the many places you can utilize to grab your audience's attention.
All right. So typically, most of the time, we're always talking traditional marketing advertising. We always talk about website, flyers, brochures, door knockers, billboards, bus benches, digital ads, SEO. There is also the traditional ways of social media advertising as well, with your Instagram and Facebook advertising. The biggest thing I have seen recently for the real estate industry is a lot of people doing the door knockers, billboards a little bit, though it is quite expensive. And then a lot of bus benches, especially in the south side, in Windermere, a lot of bus benches, which traditionally is quite expensive as well through Pattison. So those are the more traditional ways, but we want to speak about like outside the box thinking of ways that you can get your brand recognized also, and maybe not so expensive of a way, but also maybe even in a more meaningful way, some of the ones that we're going to be going over. So with events, so events is obviously a very broad way of saying. So the thing about events is these are a couple of ways that you can do it. So community events. So as in community events, for those of you that don't know, I did work for mostly home and land developers, and we would put on community events like, let's say, in Lake Summerside, and those could be sponsored by a real estate agent. So this is where you have your Canada Day event in Lake Summerside, or in whatever community you live in, you can sponsor that, which is great exposure. They'll often give you a tent and your pop-ups, and you can have a table and stand there and meet and greet community members. And then galas. So if anybody has any type of gala, so if it's anything like a charity gala, you can sponsor that. So charity auctions is another big one. And then fundraisers. So sometimes people will put on fundraisers, even like in a Canadian brew house, and they'll do a fundraiser for their soccer team, baseball team, and you can actually sponsor either the food or half the event. But it's a creative way of getting your name out there behind something that maybe is important to you and your family. And then sponsorships. So lots of different types of sponsorships. There is traditional sponsorships like doing something for a local concert. So for instance, there is a big Pigeon Lake Festival. I'm going to try to use real tangible things. There's a Pigeon Lake Festival that is every year now, and that's something great that a realtor could sponsor if they are big in Leduc in the Pigeon Lake region. Also, every other city has one. So a lot of outdoor festivals. Of course, there also is some in Edmonton, and then youth sports teams. So as I was growing up, I always had real estate people actually sponsor my local soccer team. So your kids' soccer team is a really good one. And then that way you can get your name out there to the parents and the community. And it's also a feel-good sponsorship for yourself as well. And then community. So a lot of community will have a community hall or a community events, and you can also sponsor those. But you can also even just sponsor, let's say they're going to be doing, something in the park, a lemonade day or a popsicle day they've been doing here in Windermere. You could sponsor just to pay for the popsicles going out to the kids in the community. School lunches is also another really creative one. So sometimes schools will put on like, hey, we're going to bring in McDonald's or Subway or a special pizza day, and you can sponsor it and even go to the event yourself and show up and meet some of the parents, which is a good real way of getting some business and people seeing who you are. And then dance studios. So if you have kids that are in dance, they're always looking for fundraisers and sponsorships. So let's say it's not even your kid, but you're just like, hey, I used to grow up and I used to dance. So I'm going to sponsor the next dance. Maybe they're putting on like a dance concert and you're going to sponsor it. Also, you could just do something where you just put your banner up and people see it when they come in for the actual competition. And then food drives. So lots of food drives. Of course, there's even those soccer teams will go around and try to get pop bottles and stuff like that. You could also sponsor something like that with, hey, please come bring your bottles to my office, and we're going to be giving them to this soccer team. Or even here, come to my office, we're going to be giving a basket full of food. Please drop off your canned goods and stuff like that. And the box can have your logo and everything on it. And that way it's a good, feel good sponsorship for your business. And then sports and leisure. So if you are the type of person that you're quite active yourself, maybe you're part of a bunch of sports teams, then another good way is doing community arenas. Also, if you have kids that are in sports, like indoor soccer or hockey, you can actually sponsor inside some of those arenas. Like with EDSA, they have the nice arenas where you can actually put your logo around the inside of the facility. And then leisure centers. So you can sponsor inside Twilliger Rec Center, any of your rec centers in Edmonton. There's lots of opportunities at your community recreation centers. And then same with swimming pools. So a lot of people don't think about this one as traditionally, but you can actually have advertising at the pools, also in some of their brochures that they hand out with their summer swimming programs. You can actually advertise in those as well. And also, if you want to do a swim meet, you can sponsor those as well too. And baseball fields. So we have a few nice baseball fields here in Edmonton. We have a few that are going to be being built in Spruce Grove. So that's, hey, if you're a realtor out in Spruce Grove, you could go and put in that beautiful new baseball field that's being built, you can put your logo or your name on somewhere in the baseball field. And then bowling alleys. So this is one that traditionally as a family, everybody goes bowling. So you could do something where either you sponsor, a special Cosmo Glow night, or you just have your sponsorship somewhere in there, again, on the TV screens, or maybe it's you sponsor the bowling alleys team that there's like teams that actually have meetups. You could also sponsor in different ways at bowling alleys. But again, it's a place that a lot of community people go to, so really great exposure. And then soccer fields. So of course we have our soccer team here in Edmonton, but then there's all EDSA, St. Albert, every Leduc has soccer fields. And that's a great way of putting, if you want to either sponsor their jersey or the actual field, sometimes we'll have where you can have a little board or a pop-up thing or a little flag on the field as a sponsored field or sponsoring a team. And then webinars. So this is probably something that most people don't think of, but it's actually something that you can do. So hosting a webinar through Zoom, you can sponsor certain things, or Microsoft Teams or Google Spaces. Also social media channels. So I know we talked about social media advertising, but we're talking about a little bit different in actually, like if somebody was to host an event through a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, you could have some advertising opportunities in that. If it's something like a big group of people are going to be speaking on this webinar, you can actually have it sponsored. So when there's a break or when there's whatever, a slide goes up and your information is there. If it's a big webinar where like 200 people are going to be attending, there is some opportunities. So if it's somebody that you are, hey, I would like to do that. Again, even a podcast. So Dennis and I both have a podcast, and there's opportunities with sponsoring either the episode or just saying, hey, I'd like to come on as a guest. And then that's great exposure as well. But podcasts are listened to across Canada and across the United States. So it's great exposure if you think of being on somebody's podcast that is in your target audience. And then online networking and conferences. So of course, there is always going to be online networking and conferences. I think with COVID, we've all realized that we don't always have to do in person. We can do online, but you can actually sponsor some of these things. So again, they'll probably have it where you're on a slide or you're on the PowerPoint with your logo, or they're going to traditionally just say, hey, today's conference is sponsored by, and then name you. Again, these are just some different creative ways of getting your name out there without just thinking the traditional way. And actually, a lot of these are pretty cost effective. So you could be doing multiple of these ideas, whereas in like one bench advertisement could cost, you know, that amount in one bench in Edmonton. So it's just thinking a little bit more of getting your name out there, but also in more cost effective or ways that you could get better exposure than just a bus bench, because a lot of realtors are doing bus benches. So it's not as exposure wise, I would say that it's not the greatest anymore. Also with billboards, a lot of the times people don't necessarily see them with how fast they flip through, and you are paying thousands of dollars for those billboards. And then contests. So traditionally, everybody always thinks of social media contests, but we've actually got some cool idea here. So geocaching is a really good, cool way of thinking of having people do something interactive, but then you sponsor it. Also, everybody nowadays are with their kids, they're doing the Pokemon Go challenges. So you could do something where you sponsor it, and if they go to this one location, then maybe your information shows up. There's a lot of creative ways. But again, this is just thinking a little bit more fun with the contest. And then treasure hunts. So you could have people, you know, go to different home areas or different community spaces, and they have to find something and then post it on social media. We can get creative with that one as well. And then scavenger hunts. So a good one is obviously for Easter, having a scavenger hunt around your community or around the area that you service, and having you be the sponsor of it. So you give away prizes, you interact with the parents. And again, it's just a good way of getting your name out there, but giving back to the community and families as well. And then fundraising raffles. So every sports team, every community does do fundraising raffles. But again, you could have your name on the raffle ticket, or just mention that you're sponsoring the raffle. Again, this is kind of just a little bit of cool contest ways so that you could just do things a little bit more creative and fun instead of just the traditional advertising ways. And then vehicle wraps. So a lot of people traditionally know vehicle wraps, but they're maybe not doing them. So your vehicle is a free roaming billboard space, especially for realtors. So be sure you have the following on your vehicle: your logo, name, brokerage, phone number, and website URL. So you can see Sonia's behind here briefly. It's a really good, beautiful wrap. Of course, you can see her name, you can see her information, what brokerage she is, and of course her face, because she is her personal branding is who she is. Again, it's one of those things where some people will say, hey, maybe this whole wrap is a little bit too much. Well, you can have partial wraps. So if you're saying maybe I don't want my face on it, that's fine. You can always just have your logo and everything else that's listed there. Again, there's different types of wraps. There's those companies in Edmonton that offer them. You can always just say, hey, I'd like a half wrap. And then there's even the magnet ones where you can have a magnet and it comes often on your car as well. But of course, you're going to really notice the whole full wrap. I mean, you go everywhere and everybody will start to know your vehicle, and it's just great advertising for when you're driving around Edmonton or an Edmonton area. And then custom swag. So with this, there is the traditional things like your t-shirts and hats, but then there's a little bit more creative things you can do with like electronic gadgets. And then there's notepads. You can also do planners. You can even do like, hey, I want to do a notepad where it's focused on, you know, your top 3 goals for the day. So a little bit more goal oriented. And then calendars is a really good one. Everybody always likes a really nice looking calendar they can use in their house or their work. And then books. So biggest thing is that a lot of people traditionally don't think too much of books, but you could always do a book sponsorship thing, or you could also do a little bit creative where it's a note, but it's also a book. But traditionally, it is always good to at least have 1 or 2 things that you're going to wear. I mean, the biggest thing is if you do like wearing golf shirts, it's good to have a golf shirt with your logo on it, or even a hat or a toque. with your logo on it. And that way that people can see it. Like if it's the winter time, you wear your toque all the time in your videos, or your hat, or there are things you can give away at your sponsorship opportunities, like hats and t-shirts are really good giveaway items. And then collaborations. So this is thinking a little bit more about your influencer ways of working with people to get your information out there. So every business, of course, with real estate has its preferred partners. So things like collaborating with moving companies to do some advertising with. You guys can both think of ideas like, hey, maybe we're both going to sponsor this event or this thing coming up. Interior designers, home organizers, not-for-profits, organization, and personal trainers. So these are all just ideas for you to think about, people that you use on a day-to-day basis that you could maybe do some sponsorship advertising opportunity with. Now, let's say it's also a mortgage broker or something like that. You guys could do some sponsorship opportunities that go together, and that you guys both share the costs on that, but you guys both benefit from it. Again, we're just trying to give you guys outside the box thinking here, just away from the traditional advertising. And then this is a good one that I really like this slide, by the way, Dennis, that marketing requires time, patience, determination, and creative thinking. This was a good one that you added in there. The biggest thing is that it is going to take time to think about ways to, use your marketing strategies. Patience, because not everything is going to be within a month. You're not going to see everything come back full force right away. It might take 3 or 6 months. And determination, you're always going to have to reinvent the wheel. So maybe you try one and you're like, hey, this sponsorship opportunity didn't do anything. So you try another one. And then the next year you try another one. You always have to keep reinventing the wheel and coming up with creative thinking to stand out again from the 3,600 realtors in Edmonton and area.
Agreed. So you saw that we talked about your presence, you talked about your presence, we talked about your messaging, and now we've taken everything and put it together into your marketing. The most important thing to take out of this is that once you put a strategy in place, utilizing the framework that we've created, it's time to take action, and you can't just sit on it. And like we said, it's going to take time, patience, and determination, and some creative thinking to do that. That is a wrap to our 3-part series. So we hope that you really got some valuable information from it. If you want to contact us, Alex Ward will be able to give you our contact information. I believe you can even find us through social media channels. We're here to help you out. So if you have any questions or concerns or ideas, we're here to help.
Yes, and thank you, Alex, for this opportunity. And we hope that it sparks some thinking and creative juices for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely no shortage of opportunity to get marketing out there, but the important thing is coming up with a strategy that represents you and who you want to actually target. So thank you to you both for a wonderful 3-part series. It has been educational, fun, enjoyable, and hopefully rewarding to everyone that has been able to attend. This will be on YouTube, social media galore. So if you didn't have an opportunity to pinpoint one moment in it, just go back, watch it again, pause it, and boost our numbers. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Monica. And have a great day, everyone. See you.
Thanks, Alex.